What's going on, X community? Exo Stomp here, and today, people, we're going to be going over the minors division for the EDL. So of course, joining me, just like last time, is going to be Galaxy Bomb.
Hello, everyone.
So, by the time this is uploaded, I believe majors will be uploaded like maybe a few minutes before or whatever. But yeah, I do want to upload these sort of as soon as possible. So I'll probably upload this when I can, as soon as possible. So starting off here, we do have a Trick Room team, I guess. There's a lot of Trick Room used mons, and there's very slow mons. So yeah.
Yeah, immediately when I saw this team, I noted it was really slow. So unless they're able to set up the Trick Room and get that as their advantage, it's going to be really hard to outpace the enemy, I would say.
Yeah, if your fastest Pokemon is a Girafarig, there's a problem. Okay. Speaking about Girafarig, what does it do on this team besides be a fast Pokemon? It's not even that fast, but
It absorbs ghost attacks.
yeah, but so does Porygon.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but that's why I put it at 16th. I don't think, unless they could somehow keep Trick Room up without, you know, the Trick Room Expander or whatever, because that doesn't exist yet, I don't see this team doing much.
It's too reliant on Trick Room. I would say if you have like a core of Pokemon, like 3 or something, that can use Trick Room effectively, and then you also have fast mons so that you have a balance between them, it can work. But if you're so reliant on Trick Room to outspeed your opponents, I don't know how effective that's going to be, because they're going to expect it.
Yeah, like, why would you not bring Trick Room? You were literally a whole Trick Room team. Like, that's the problem with this team, is that it relies solely on Trick Room, whereas you've seen, well, I guess we could just talk about this. In Majors, for instance, my team with Electric Terrain doesn't have to run Electric Terrain. That's a side thing. Whereas this is full Trick Room, basically. Keep in mind, though, this was the person who did pick Gigalith round 1, turn 1, like the first mon. So they're probably very new, but they might like Trick Room, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe they're really good with it. And I do want to bring up, since Solo put them in 8th, I do want to see why. So he does say that the team is pretty insane, but with all the Trick Room in the draft, people will be really prepped for it, like you just said. So sometimes it works, sometimes it won't. So that's why he put them around the middle, because Trick Room can work depending on the team. So I guess we will find out.
Yep.
Alright, so coming in at 15th, we have the London Luxrays. So this team, like we sort of just talked about Trick Room, it has Trick Room, but it also has other things that go with Trick Room. So you put them at 16th, so can you explain why?
It's mostly Regigigas and Marowak-Alola, to be honest. I've heard a lot of people give Marowak-Alola a decent amount of praise, but I do not think it's a very good mon. It's strong, don't get me wrong, and it can deal a lot of damage, but it's a ghost type that's weak to knockoff because it's so reliant on the club, and it's also so slow, and that just kills any thought thoughts I have of it being effective. Like, yes, it can work in Trick Room, but good God, that thing is really, really scared of being knocked off, because that cuts. It's not only does it deal a lot of damage because this thing it's fairly defensive, but it's weak to dark, and you'll cut your attack power in half if that happens. That's not very fun to me. And then Regigigas, it's a cool gimmick Pokemon, but the slow start on that thing just kills its viability, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can agree with the whole slow start, Regigigas. I do. Now here's where we differentiate. So I like Slowking and Marowak together, because you just Trick Room, you can teleport out, you can go into your Marowak and start claiming kills, because there's no switch-ins to Marowak. This thing nukes whole teams. But I did put them 15th. I did not put them much higher, and the reason is because their fastest Pokemon is a Floatzel, which is, it's fine. Boltund is fast as well, but then after that, it dips. I do not count Regigigas as 100 base speed because it cuts it in half. So where does it go? From 115 down to 71? Yeah, no, that can't happen. That's way too big of a speed.
Yeah, the 90 range is so important in this league. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I couldn't put them any higher. 15th was like, all right, there you go. Like, but I do see some gimmicks that can work with this. And another big thing is, like, they don't really have webs for their slow team, even though they do have, sort of Trick Room. And their hazard removal is Drampa, which we don't really count. And then if you want to bring Togetic every game, that's fine, but you're probably not going to want to do that. So, yeah. All right. Moving on to the 14th place, we have Kelpo and the Oops All Whoopers. Love that name. So, let's see. Wow. Okay. So...
I ranked them 13th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Mons on this team. I mean, I love Chandler, and I do like Porygon, but I feel like a lot of, like, especially Porygon and Chandler, for instance, they do a lot of the same things. I feel like there's not enough variety here. Maybe I'm missing, and Tangela is a nice defensive wall, but pretty weak to knock off there. They've got Umbreon to kind of counterbalance that. But I don't know. I feel like they're hard-hitting mons, like Jolteon, Porygon, Chandelure. They're all special mostly. And they do have Rapidash there to kind of act as the offensive side, but I feel like they're pretty tilted on one side of the offensive spectrum.
Yeah. Yep, that is true. And another thing is, can you just read off their hazard setters real quick?
Oh, I mean, Crustle's pretty great, right?
Crustle's good, but you don't want to have to run it all the time.
Yeah, and the fact that Hitmontop is the only hazard removal in the entire team, not even a single defog user.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, I look at this team and I see Earthquake Fodder besides Tangela. That's it.
Yeah, and you know how much I'm scared of Earthquake Fodder.
So yeah, I mean, this is basically knockoff / Earthquake Fodder, the team. So I mean, this team is nice. Like, you have some gimmicks. Trick Room plus Chandelure could work, or Trick Room plus Slowking, or I don't know. There's a few things that you could do. But...
I think we've made an analysis here that Trick Room is not super effective in draft when you're relying on it.
Yeah, and then, like, hey, you see the Furret, okay? I thought you would like this pick, alright?
I love Furret. I don't like using it in battles. I just like how it looks.
That's fair. Oh boy. Okay. And I mean, their pivot's nice, I guess, but other than that, there's not much else to talk about here. Moving on to 13th, we have.
They got some speed. That's probably why they're above the others, I would say.
Yeah, they have Jolteon and Rapidash and stuff like that. That's decent. Yeah, the speed tiers are alright. 13th, we have the Florida Phalanx. So, I put them at 13th. Some people put them at 15th, and we'll go over those as well. But the reason I put them at 13th, and we moved them up, of course, because we did have a drop preseason, basically.
Yeah, I do think the swaps that they made definitely boosted their power level a decent amount.
I mean, they could have swapped with literally any Pokemon higher up than 10s and above. 10s and below, rather, and he would have been fine. But yeah, I think Thief did pick the right mons. Aerodactyl is amazing. Togedemaru is great. Kingdra's, I guess, okay out of rain. You could always set up rain yourself, I guess. Poltegeist is amazing.
Poltegeist is really, really good. I'm really excited to see that thing get some setups going. And I was contemplating drafting Kingdra. I want to see Kingdra's effectiveness outside of the rain, and I want to see Dugtrio's effectiveness outside of just being a trapper, since traps aren't allowed here. As well as Ninetales' effectiveness without drought. These are some mons that you won't normally see outside of their main gimmick, which is Swift Swim on Kingdra, Arena Trap on Dugtrio, and Drought on Ninetales. So I'm interested in seeing how effective they'll be in this draft, and I'm definitely excited to see those replays.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I think it's gonna be interesting because like you just said, all these Pokemon do have a lot of gimmicks. Even like Phalanx is pretty gimmicky. Thievel's pretty gimmicky with like Unburden. Poltergeist with Shell Smith. All these are decently
Yeah,
gimmicky.
Shiinotic you can very often see just spore spamming
Yeah.
in the early game.
I honestly, I was going to draft Poltergeist, and I was really sad when neither minors nor majors picked it up at first. So I am glad that he picked it up because it is actually insane in low tier.
It's a great Pokemon. It's really strong.
Yeah.
If it sets up, oh, it is brutal to take down because that thing just sweeps through a team super easily.
Yeah. If you don't have a Sucker Punch user, good luck. But yeah, I did want to mention hazard setters are Dugtrio, which is okay, and then Aerodactyl, and then hazard removers are also Aerodactyl, and then Frostmoth. So Aerodactyl needs to be support,
Very
but also
reliant,
want to
yeah.
attack. So it sucks because Aerodactyl likes to hit things, and if it needs to set up rocks, but also defog at the same time.
Wait, Articuno doesn't have defog?
Not Galar, no.
That's weird.
Yeah, it doesn't have Roost either. It's so weird. But yeah, I think something like that needs to change. Like maybe get a decently okay hazard remover, or maybe like another hazard setter of some sort. But
yeah, no rapid spin means it's gonna be tough to actually use the rocks effectively if you do set them up.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But I do like the team. I think the team can do work offensively. Defensively, it's decent, but you got to work on those removers. I think having at least another spinner or even another defogger would be nice.
Try and get ahead and stay ahead. That's pretty much the game plan here.
Yeah. And then I do want to mention Burger put them at 15, so I'll talk about that. So he's mad that you have 8 points left, and you don't want to get anything else. This team, okay, so he says that the team built around Aerodactyl, but it's not built well around Aerodactyl. The whole team feels lackluster, and yeah, I think you should. Honestly, he's mainly just talking about how you have 8 points left, and you have some decently low tier mons like a Thievel and even an Ursa Ring for that matter. You can upgrade those, and like I said, get another hazard remover, get another hazard setter, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I was looking at those two, and I'm like, are you really gonna bring them when you kind of have to rely on Aerodactyl and Kingdra to, for instance, to really push things forward? Like, you should get mons that work around those cores.
Yeah. Yeah, this team, I like it. It just, you can upgrade. You have 8 points left. Just use them. That's all you gotta do. It annoys me when I have 1 point left. If you have 8. Oh, okay. Anyways, move on. Let me move on before I have a heart attack. Okay.
You should put a requirement so you have to use every point.
Yes. No, everyone would hate me.
Next draft.
God, no. Alright, moving on to 12th place. We got Wreckerman and the Sleeping Snorlaxes. So, oh boy, where do I begin? So you put them at 5th, so why don't you begin?
So I feel so the thing around this team obviously is to use Snorlax effectively. That's pretty much the core. You know they're almost always gonna bring Snorlax just because of how powerful it is. And you can expect it. But I still feel like Snorlax is strong enough that even if you know it's coming, it's still going to pose a problem most of the time. And while they definitely have that kind of redundancy with the 3 poisons, and not a lot of like earthquake defense, I really, really do think that their offensive power is really good. Like they've got Fortress to help with that kind of early game setup. And they have a decent amount of removal, like not amazing. They've got defog and rapid spin, but they've got a lot of pressure with the amount of hazards they have, and then can just take advantage of the team taking time to try and remove them to just murder things. And I want to see that happen.
Okay, that's honestly fair. Their offense is scary as hell. Their defense is still decent, and the only thing about this team is that it started off super well. Like, I love Snorlax into Slowbro Galar, into Seismitoad. I was like, okay, this team's gonna be great. And then the Alcremie came in, the Fortress, and I was like, then the Vileplume, and I was like, okay, that's still fine. Double poison, whatever. And then Drapion came in. I'm like, all right, come on, three poison types. What are we doing here? Why did you get 3? But I can see a reason why to have 2. Because, like, let's say Drapion, Vileplume, they don't have the same weaknesses, but having
and they usually don't have. Yeah, they don't do the same thing at all.
Yeah, and they don't do the same thing. But yeah, like you said, the Earthquake weakness is huge. It looks like Fortress has to tank it, and then, like, I guess Rotom, but if you switch into, like, a wrong move, like a knockoff, yeah, you die. So,
if you swap, like Drapion for a flying type, this team would be way stronger, I would feel.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. 100%. Because it would give you, most likely, another Defogger, which would be great, because Rotom usually doesn't like to run Defog, and Fortress, even though it's a good Rapid Spinner, it dies to fire moves, and it wants to set up hazards, so it usually doesn't have time to Rapid Spin. So you're going to want another Defogger. So yeah, like Alex said, I would definitely think of looking at flying types. If you can find a decently good defensive Defogger that's a flying type, definitely pick it up. Alright, moving on here, we got Houston Hardscales. So this is going to be an interesting team. Now you put them at 4th, which is really high to me.
I love this team. This team is great, in my opinion. I mean, Noivern and Flygon are a little redundant. They're both kind of do the same thing, but they're both really strong in different ways. And not to mention, Noivern has the synergy with Rain. Now, I know there's no Drizzle and there's no Wet Rock, but if they can set up a Rain Dance, they have a couple turns where they can kind of stomp all over the place. Which is really strong, but I don't think this team is reliant on Rain. And I feel like a lot of people have docked a lot of points from the Hardscales because they see the Rain combo with Kabutops and with Noivern, and they're like, but there's no Rain, it's dock points, it's bad. But I don't think they need it. Yeah, Hurricane would be not reliable on Noivern, but they have a lot of other options here. I mean, Flygon is a really good sweeper, but then also has a lot of defensive potential. Klefki's just annoying to deal with. It's an insane Pokemon, in my opinion. I think it's so obnoxious in terms of its just kind of presence. Rotom Mo's a really good pivot and a really good utility for their team. I'm not super certain about Armaldo. I've heard that it's fairly well rounded. Like it has its weaknesses, but it can do a lot of work. But otherwise, I mean, I don't know. I just see this team and I see a lot of solid Pokemon. It has its gimmick of being able to set up for some really powerful turns if it needs to. But otherwise, it has a good amount of versatility, and I think it has potential.
I can agree, like, that it does have potential, but just answer me this question. What switches into a Piloswine?
Who's using Piloswine anyway?
Dude, Ground and Ice destroy this team.
Yeah, that's true. They have some glaring weaknesses, I will agree.
And, like, look, it's gonna be interesting. I say that a lot, but it's gonna be interesting to see Rain without that damp rock, because what do they have, like 4 turns of Rain to
Pretty much.
use, and then they lose it and it's over. Hey, maybe they just drafted it and they didn't even notice they were drafting Rain. They're like, oh shoot, we have Rain.
Honestly, that's kind of what I think happened here. I don't like. I see the synergy, but I don't see the Mons being so reliant on Rain that they need it. That's
Mhm.
kind of what I see.
That's fair. That's
So
fair.
I see it's like, oh, I mean, yeah, that could kind of work, kind of thing.
Well, let's get one.
I feel like, I mean, the ground weakness is really scary, yeah, and the ice weakness is also the fact that both your dragons are times 4 weak to ice is not helpful.
Yeah.
But hey, kill them. All right, prove them wrong, prove me right. Okay, do it for me.
Well, let's get one thing straight, all right? If you bring hazards to their game, you are never gonna let them up. Okay, you're never gonna get them
Yeah,
up.
no, your hazards go off the screen. I don't know. Your hazard
Literally, hazard removers are too many. Holy shit. Yeah, but I do understand why you like this team. I know you like Noivert. I know you like Flygon. You like Gallade. You said you liked Klefki. You think it's really good.
Yeah,
like
and I
add-ons.
do think Rotombo is really, really strong too.
Yeah, so I understand the power behind it. I can see the synergy. I just don't think it'll work in a league that doesn't allow, the damp rock.
Drizzle and Damprock.
Yeah, but maybe we're wrong and they'll destroy everyone in minors. Who knows?
We shall see.
We shall. Moving on to the 10th place, we have Breaking Zoltz and Not Shady Kid. So I like this team. I'll just say that since you ranked them as 15th, I'll say that I like this team personally. This team, besides like their only reliable remover being Cryogonal, I think this team has power defensively or offensively, and then has the defensive what am I trying to say? Defensiveness, I don't know, of this team. Like, you got Miltank, which can take physical moves, you got Cryogonal, which can take special moves, and then like Gramble can also take mixed. Shaman's pretty decent. I think this team has a good mixture of versatility to it, where like it can hit super hard with Cloyster and Heracross and Heliolisk with like Specs and Band and stuff, but it can also be defensive. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that it doesn't have webs, which is pretty big for it, because I think we mentioned this last time with Kyrak's team, because he has a Heracross. Heracross likes webs. You get up webs, and you can use Guts Heracross way easier. Guts Heracross is insane. So without it, you're sort of stuck to using Scarf, because it doesn't outspeed many things at 85 base speed. But yeah, other than that, I think I really like this team.
So I'm gonna take what you said about it being versatile, and honestly, I think that's its weakness. I think this team is spread too thin. I think that its mons are so far apart that it's going to be really hard to bring everything you need for each match. I think there's pretty much always going to be some big weakness in your team lineup of 6 that the enemy can take advantage of and kind of poke through that to get ahead in the game. Like, I see Cryogonal being good at Rapid Spin and having that special wall, and basically being your removal. And then I see, like you said, Miltank is pretty beefy, but then things like Oricorio and Raticate, I don't see them bringing enough value themselves personally to fit onto the team so that versatility can be taken advantage of, if that makes sense. I feel like at that point, now you just have these really important ones that you have to keep around because they're spread into different Pokemon so much that now you just have less powerful Pokemon and not very versatile team. So you have kind of the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I guess I don't really see Raticate doing much. Then again, I haven't really seen it used much or that often at all. I don't know. I like Oricorio. I think because Oricorio comes with 4 different types, so you have to prep for basically 3 types, four types really. And then I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not shady kid likes Raticate and knows how to use it. I personally have never used it before in draft, so we'll see. I guess.
We'll see.
All right, moving on to 9th, we got the Charlotte Beedrills, and coach is Jake Mix. So, the biggest glaring weakness here is the speed. Okay, if your max speed Mon is a Rotom fan, again there is a big problem. Like you're not reaching base 90 speed here. Team defensively, great. I think this team is so hard to break.
Insane defense.
Yeah.
Crazy defense. And I know that very well, but that's spoilers. This team is so bulky, and it is really, really hard to break through. You have a lot of options for that bulk, too. That's the main thing, is that even if you're prepping for one Mon, they could just bring the other version of that side of defense, and it pretty much covers the bases. Registeel, insanely bulky, but then you have Druddigon, who's also really good at taking down physical hitters that are kind of squishy with its Rocky Helmet build. Muck is a very nice defensive Pokemon as well. Palisand is insane to break through on the special side, or physical side. Wait, I don't remember if it's physical or special. Either way, it's really hard to break through when it's going up against just kind of whatever it's good at. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And then you have Rotom Fan for the pivot. Gardevoir and Ember are really good to clean up afterwards. Not only is Gardevoir pretty specially bulky, that means that if your physical walls are able to chip down the physical offense, Gardevoir has no issues just rolling over the rest of the team because there's nothing that can break it. Arachnid for webs is also really good. You can kind of lower the speed down a bit to get a bit of that speed advantage back if you need to. Just overall, this team is really, really defensive. And while that may not work out against every team, depending on the enemy lineup, I think it is more than enough to get to kind of the middle ground of the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, yeah, I honestly really like this team, and I think with webs it can work super well because, like, honestly, any team with webs, even if it's slow, becomes a lot better, especially down here in low tier, because you set up webs and suddenly your whole team is basically 1.5 times faster. Put it like that. So the offensive pressure of like Ember plus Gardevoir is so scary. It's super hard to prep for as well because Gardevoir, it doesn't like steel types. Ember likes steel types. Ember really likes steel types. So yeah, I just think prepping for this team is hard. You think like, oh, it's a slow team, I got this, and then you just somehow get swept by like some sort of Registeel center.
I will warn the league not to underestimate this team whatsoever.
Yeah, and I did underestimate. I put it 12, but honestly, I can see it being threatening. I can. All right, moving on to 8th, we have Skibby and the Honchkrow Mafia. So, wow. All right. Let's see. Why don't you begin with this one, actually?
Oh boy, I mean, I see 3 Pokemon at the bottom there that just kind of give off the essence of this team. Like, those 3 Pokemon are pretty much the mascots. You got Magmadar, you got Rhyperior, you got Electivire. The big boys of Gen 4, those kind of big evolutions that get very bulky and are big ol' scary. And I think that's exactly what this team is trying to emulate, that kind of big, scary bulk. And then you got Torpedo in the back, just kind of peeking behind all the big boys, just kind of waiting for its opening. And I think that's the game plan here, pretty much for them, is to have these kind of bulky frontliners to whittle down the team, and then just have Sharpedo come in and clean up the mess. And I think it could work. I think you have to be very patient with your game strategy. You have a decent amount of hazards to do so. I would maybe say for this kind of team, you might want a bit more personally, especially since you don't have a lot of hazards removers. You just have defog. That makes it a bit harder as well. But I could see it work. It's not perfect in terms of what comes here, but then again, it's really hard to get a perfect draft.
Yeah. Yeah, I do now. Okay, so this is me. I do like this team, mainly because I may have drafted 3 of the Pokemon on here, but I do agree where like there's a lot of bulky, hard-hitting mons here, which breaks holes into opponents' teams, and then Sharpedo can come in and sweep from there. I really like that because Sharpedo, although it can't really OHKO many Pokemon. If you whittle down your opponent's team, Sharpedo can come in and win because of speed boost. So I do like this team. I think this team can do super well because, again, I feel like bulky offense is so annoying to deal with in low tier because of how annoying it can be. I mean, yeah, there aren't many hazard removers, but then you gotta remember, Espeon has Magic Bounce as well, so that could be really annoying. And Weezing is super reliable remover. Braviary is probably not going to be running defog anytime soon, but yeah, I do also like where they can actually run terrain. They can run Misty Terrain plus Unburdened Sceptile with the seed. That could work. But yeah, other than that, I think it has potential. I do see the flaws in it. I think every team should have webs if they are able to fit it onto their team. Sadly, this team does not. But I can actually see the team working really well with webs because, again, I feel like every team should have webs because of how good it is. I mean, look at this team. It's fast and it still likes webs. Espeon plus webs, you could just set up a Combine and sweep like any team, because what is outspeeding 110 base Espeon in webs? Nothing unless it's like Aerodactyl or Crobat. But yeah,
Very true.
all right, anyways, let's move on. We have Miami Sylveons, just Storm Crystal here. So you put them at 12th. Damn, okay, why'd you put them at 12th?
I don't know. I see Raichu Alola, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it's strong, but there's no... Unless something here has electric terrain that I'm not aware of, they don't have electric support. And then Lanoon, everyone seems to love Lanoon, and I'm just like, is it really good though? I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's probably good, but is it really good? Who knows? Blastoise and Moltres are pretty nice. Blastoise is pretty bulky and has that offensive power. I am interested in seeing what Galarian Moltres brings to the table. I don't think I've seen it in a draft format because it's brand new. Gourgeist is interesting because you can bring any size Gourgeist, correct?
Yep.
And normally, really, only the big one is the most played, I think, and then sometimes the smallest one. But I mean, who knows? It could bring some kind of weird middle variation. And I like Guzzlord. I don't think it's amazing though. Like, Guzzlord is kind of a deceiving Pokemon where it looks like it might be really good with its stats, but something about it just doesn't work properly, and that's probably why it's a pretty low tier. So I see these mons and I'm like, I don't know where the keystone is, you know?
I feel it. I definitely feel that. I can tell you what's wrong with it right now, even though I put it in 4th. I think there's some things that can easily be fixed, and that's why it's only like it's not in anything below that. Malamar, don't know what the hell it's doing here. I don't know what it's going to be doing to help this team. I don't think it's doing anything to help this team, actually, because it seems very weak to Fairy. Very weak. I mean, what? You got Wheezing, which I guess is good defensively, but what about special attack? And also, most Fairies have some sort of psychic move, so that's not really gonna help.
Yeah.
And then you got, what, Typhlosion? And that's it? That's it.
Yeah,
So,
and Fairy is such a strong type, so not having a good answer to that is scary.
yeah. And then, on top of that, I don't know what Guzzler is doing here either. I mean, if you're gonna keep one dark type, you keep the Moltres, because Moltres Galar is actually really nice. Guzzlord, yeah, okay, it's dragon type, sure, but you don't grab things just because of their type. You gotta look at what they're doing for your team. If Guzzlord is here because it's a dragon type and that is it, you gotta look at the big picture, right? If this Pokemon is making you four times more weak to Fairy, you gotta switch it up. You gotta put in, like, I don't know, another... Do you have a Steel type? I don't even think you have it. You don't have a Steel type? Get a Steel type! What are you doing?
That's why you're so weak to Fairy.
Get a Steel type! And then drop Malamar and get, like, maybe, like, a Wish Passer besides Raichu, because Wish Passing's nice in here, too. But, I don't know. Other than that... Actually, Aromatisse...
I think the Mons are strong individually. I don't think they work well together. I think that's what's holding this team back.
Yeah, actually, okay. I did talk to Sylvie, and hopefully you will make these swaps this week before it ends. Aromatisse and Magneton. You swap out your Malamar and Guzzlord, and you have a good Steel type, a good Wish Passer, and a good Fairy type. And you also have something that can set up electric terrain for the Raichu if you want to. But yeah, that's up to you. I think that would make your team a lot better, and would sort of, well, it would definitely help against Fairy types. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyways, I guess the hazard removers, you only have rapid spinners, which it's not the biggest deal. I mean, at least you have removal, like more than one reliable remover, so it's not bad. But yeah. All right. And for 6th, we have San Francisco Salazzles, Mr. Lapperers. So, you put them in 3rd. Okay.
Yep.
Why did you put them in 3rd?
Not for Salazzle, I'll tell you that much. For everything else around it, I think this team works really well as a hyper offense. Rabambi is there as a very nice suicide lead that can, if it survives, actually deal quite a lot of damage. Rabambi's Moonblast is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
I underestimated it the first time I saw it because, like, it's just a little tiny pixie. It's like, and just murders everything.
Boom.
Really.
Yeah.
But it's super fast. It's able to get up first webs really quickly if you want it to be suicide lead. Plus, Hoopa has Prankster, correct? Am I wrong about
No, it has Magician.
No, Magician, that's the one. Hoopa is just a really nice utility mana as well. Virizion, I don't see a lot, but I feel like could be pretty good. It's also a very nice, just kind of knockoff tank, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Gligar there with that would like to hold in a Violite, so that's a pretty nice combination there. Morpeko's really, really strong offensively, I would say. Its Aura Wheel is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much Kecleon and Bidoof do. I think they're just kind of memes, personally. And then Tyrantrum there just bulldozes over things like crazy. I think this team is really, really good hyper offense, and I think that's the perfect place for a Salazzle to be. Is to be in a team that just wants to kill things before they have a chance to do anything.
That's fair. But let me just go back to what you're talking about with the Kecleon and Bidoof. So that means that the versatility here is lacking. I mean, you're gonna bring probably 6 to 7 Pokemon on this team. The only switch up I would say, I mean, like Kecleon. Okay, you did say Kecleon is sort of here for the meme, but I like Kecleon. Its Spadef is actually pretty good. It has rocks. It has tons, and I mean tons of good moves. It's got Ice Beam, Fire Blast, Thunderbolt. Got Nasty Plot, you know, and then it has stuff like Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch. for priority. Like, it has a lot of good moves, and I actually think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I would probably draft it if it's like tier 5 or so. But Bidoof, I don't know why that's here. I do like you already said, the Gligar Virizion combo. Plus, the Hoopa is 4 times weak to dark type moves, so knockoff is nice. So, again, Virizion's pretty good with that. I do like the mascot pick, even though I don't really like Salazzle. I do like it because, like, you picked your mascot, which is pretty cool. You do have good Reflect Light Screen in Inteleon with Tyrantrum. I think that could be pretty good. Webs plus Tyrantrum's also pretty good. This team really revolves around Tyrantrum. So I'm glad you did get it, because if you don't have Tyrantrum, I don't see what this team really does offensively. But other than that, yeah, you don't have Spikes, Toxic Spikes, not a big deal. No Wish Passer could be an issue, because Gligar likes Wish Passing. But yeah, other than that, I think that's it. Alright, moving on to 5th, we have T1 T-Taurus, which is Arvid's team. So, oh boy, so we're both pretty middle of the ground here, so I guess I can start.
Yeah.
I actually really like this team. Even though I'm middle of the ground, this team is super nice. I mean, how did you get Incineroar, Feraligatr, Regidrago, and Meloetta in one team?
Meloetta.
No, not Meloetta. How'd you get the...
But yeah, it's really good. I don't see games lasting long at all, one way or the other. The games that this team is going to be in are not going to be very long. Someone's gonna die.
Dude, like, the offensive pressure on this team, what the hell are you setting up on? If you were the opponent, what are you setting up on? Carbink? Okay, sure. But, like, other than that, I have no idea. I do like the Hitmonchan pickup. I think that's pretty good, because you did need a hazard remover besides Cottony. But you might want to find another hazard remover, I suppose. Wish Passer could be nice, but honestly, and then this is the biggest issue actually for me, and I guess it was for you as well. The speed tiers, nothing over base 100 is big.
Yeah, their momentum is pretty nice, but if they're on the reactionary side, oh god, it's hard. It's really hard to do anything with this team.
Yeah, sort of means that, like, you need to bring Scarf on Regidrago almost every time. You probably want to be running Orbeetle almost every time just for webs. So it sort of strangles your team a little bit, where, like, you have to bring certain sets. But I know Arvid, and Arvid likes to bring the same sets a decent amount of times because they work. And hey, Scarf Regidrago 90% of the time works. So you know what? If you want to do that this time, that works. Works for me. But yeah, there's not really much else to say. I do like the Venusaur pickup as well. I think that was after draft, and that's a really good grounded poison as well as a good grass type. And I think wasn't Cottony 1 point?
I don't think is Cottony 1 point. It's a really good value for 1 point.
Yeah, I think it was 1 point. I feel like it is 1 point. If it's 2 points, you guys can correct me. But dude, Prankster plus Sunny Day for Venusaur is nice. Prankster plus Tailwind for everything else to make everything faster is nice. Prankster plus Memento plus Defog. I mean, you name it. Cottony is a really good value pick, and yeah, I think it'll.
Cottony is 1 point. Wow. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is gonna be good. I think this team is gonna work really well, even though we put it middle of the road because of the speed tiers mostly. I think it's gonna be really hard to switch into all these mons. And moving on to 4th, we have the Thornham Fractures and Mr. Rabbit himself. He's been a big memer. He picked Axew round 1, and he evolved it into Fracture, which is nice. He's got a bunch of defoggers. You know, we got Blaziken. We get no. But honestly, I think his team is all around really balanced. We actually put them at the same tier. We put them at 7th. So
Yeah.
Why don't you start with this one actually?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strong mons here. I personally don't know how well they play together. I guess is what I'm a little concerned about. Is I think Blaziken is strong. I think Copperage is strong. I think Slurpuff is good. Roserade's strong. Piloswine strong. But together, I'm not I don't see. It's kind of similar to before. Like they have Indeedee, but they don't have anything to kind of well, let's say capitalize on what Indeedee can do with the Psychic Terrain and its potential. And I mean, Volbeat, Emolga, and Golbat, I don't see them ever coming. Like Golbat maybe, but I don't see the other two ever coming at all.
Mm-hmm.
So the versatility is a bit lower due to that. So I would say I don't know where the core is on this team. I feel like it's a bit too all over the place. It's strong. The mons are strong, but I don't know what the game plan is.
The more I look at this team, the less I feel like I should move it up. I feel like it could be like 5th, maybe even 4th. Because you just mentioned the Indeedee with Psychic Terrain, but then like Liepard has Unburden, Slurpuff has Unburden, so there's things that you could use it with.
Okay, Unburden, yeah.
And then like Indeedee by itself, Expanding Force hits so goddamn hard. It is also not weak to Ghost, which is really nice for like the Jellicent, I suppose. And I think the last 3 pickups were to help out the ground weakness for the Blaziken, the Copperaja. I think that was pretty decent to get. I think Amalga's nice because of the speed tier. The speed tier is actually, that's another thing. Base 106 is the fastest mon. It's not the worst, but there are teams like, let's just say an Aerodactyl that can sort of run through this whole team. Aerodactyl's really scary. But yeah, I think unless you bring Unburden on a mon every single time, it's going to be a little scary. Sticky Web, you do have Slurpuff. I think I mentioned in the notes that I wrote that if you didn't have Sticky Webs, maybe I just missed Slurpuff. But I think Slurpuff, you sort of need to bring webs every time if you want to outspeed things. I do like the Blaziken though. I think Blaziken with webs is sort of needed because it doesn't have speed boost, but it hits.
Yeah, basically has speed boost.
Yeah, it basically does. You can run Flame Charge, like Swords Dance Flame Charge, that I've seen go around, so that's pretty decent. But other than that, I think this team is really all around scary because yes, this team is really weak to a because it has a lot of Violet mons. It's really weak to knockoff, but I still think that this team is one of the scariest teams, and that's why it isn't 4th. And moving on to the 3rd spot, can you guys guess which one it is? I bet you can't. It's gonna be Galaxy Bomb himself in the Yep. All right. There you go. I'll start with this one since it's your team. So, you got the low tier legend himself, Colossal, on this team. This man can eat up any flying hit, any fairy hit. I don't want to mention water or ground type moves, but that's fine. You got Crobat, which helps out tremendously with your Porygon Z. Same thing with Comfy, helps out against those fighting types, which your Duraludon and your Porygon Z really don't like. Also, Galvantula sets up webs for your for your mons like PZ, or even Crobat if it wants to run like a setup nasty plot set or something like that. I do like Passimian because Passimian with Defiant is really nice, and Water Absorb Quag with your Colossal is really nice. I think there's a lot of synergy on this team, and I really like it. The Beldum synergizes really well with the Crobat. No, okay, let me stop. So, but you do have enough hazard setters. I think your hazard setters are fine. I think hazard removers are reliable. The biggest thing here is, I guess, wish. I think you don't have any wish passers, so that
Yeah,
could be nice.
I'm a little sad that I don't have a lot of recovery on this team. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, you could always maybe look around and swap around a few of your lower tier mons to get a wish passer or something. But I think overall, you do have a really, really solid team, and that's why I put you at third.
I don't think I'm super strong personally. I think I have a good balance and I have a good amount of synergy. But again, the lack of reliable recovery for me hurts quite a lot. I like my defensive mons to be able to just tank hits and not care about it. Just go back out and back in and back out and back in and not care at all because they can just click a button and heal. It's going to be tough for me to use them effectively without that kind of pillow to rely on. But hopefully I can pull it through. And to be honest, I mostly just want to, like, the goal with this team is to make some of the other teams panic. Just for a moment. Like, I just want to bring a little bit of chaos and be like, oh no, stuff is about to go wrong. So, stuff like Sword Stance Duraludon is very fun. And also Porygon just hits like an absolute truck. So, that will also be quite fun. Passimian also can hit like a freaking truck when Defiant turns on. So yeah.
Beldum hits like a truck.
It does. Beldum's watching you guys. He's watching. Look at that beady little eye. Okay. He's commanding everyone else. He's observing the battlefield.
He's the mastermind behind the plan.
So I will just say, be prepared for chaos.
Spooky. All right, we'll end off with that one. Okay, so the next team, or should I say teams, actually tied for first. Not even joking. I added up all the individual ranks, then divided it by 8, like all the other ones, and they got the same exact points. So we'll just talk about one team first, and then we'll talk about the other. But just to mention, yes, they're both tied for first. So first one we're gonna go over is the Houston Toros. So, oh boy, Cross, where do I begin? So this team is insane. I mean, okay, so your Swampert is weak to grass. Okay, you have a Moltres. Your Moltres is weak to rock. Okay, you have a Swampert. They work super well together. They both have pivot. Speaking about pivot, your pivot went literally off of the page. I had to literally delete pivot moves on the actual dock itself because it would not fit onto the dock. So, I think you have enough hazards, enough hazard removal. I guess it would be nice to have sticky webs on this team, but that's besides the point. I think that's fine. You don't really need it, I guess. It would be nice, but yeah. And
yeah, if there's one word to summarize this team, I would say compact. This team has a lot in a small package, which allows it to switch things up quite a bit. So like the Moltres Swampert combo will likely come a lot of the time, but everything else around it can really adjust, and that makes prepping for them really scary because they have threats in a lot of different ways. So I will say that kind of versatility makes this team a menace.
yeah. I did want to mention something before we go on, and that is that you could switch up to Dracloak to something better. It's a 4-point mon, right? So it's not like it's a 1-point mon and you just sort of grab something like Galaxy. But
I'm just saying, man.
Dracloak, if you grab it because it's a Dragon type, you don't need a Dragon type. If you grab it because it's a Ghost type, I would mention that in the 4-point category, Mischievous is in there. Mischievous is actually really solid mon. It's has a lot more moves than Dracloak does, and if you're nervous that it has maybe a lower speed tier, you don't really you have a base 100 Tentacruel, you have a base 105 Zoroark, so like speed tiers don't really change. I do like Mischievous better. If you want a Dragon type, Gabite is even better, I feel like, because it has more versatility than Dracloak. But if you like Dracloak, that's fine. You're here in the first spot anyways, but that's something that I think you could change. And I feel like there's a 4-point Sticky Webber, if I'm not mistaken. There could be.
Probably. Where's Masquerade?
Yeah, right. 4-point Weber. I'm looking now because I feel like I remember there was one. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's 3 points. It's 3 points. I can't find it.
It's not a lot. Does Shedinja do webs?
Nah.
Aspect Windows webs?
Nah.
Well, I guess not.
I guess not. Well, there's webs somewhere. You just gotta find them. There's something. Maybe you'll find it. But yeah, I think if anything, Mischievous would fit here well because I think it does have Levitate, which can work pretty well with your mons like Probopass and Tentacruel, and so that could help. But yeah, that's really the only issue here. And if that's your only issue, that you have a random mon, and that's it, you know what? You made a really good team. So congrats. Alright, moving on to the other first place, we have Thor's Thundies. Oh, okay, so you start off with this one.
I think this team has amazing synergy between its defensive mons and its offensive mons. I think that's probably the scariest part, is that they have the ability to run over a team, and then if they need to shell up a bit, they have Diancie, Roselia, for example, Donphan, really good walls to keep their sweepers safe. So I think Swellow will have no problem being kind of a keystone of this team, pretty much. That's I think the main thing that people need to watch out for, is that Swellow. I think the Swellow is going to do a lot of work.
Yeah. Dude, Swellow, Boomburst Swellow, like Specs Boomburst Swellow, is going to rip through teams. Absolutely rip through teams. And then even without Specs, it can run Guts, Flame Orb Guts. That is scary as well. You got 3 Wish Passers, and 2 of the reliable ones. I don't really count Raichu. A ton of Heal Bell and Aromatherapy mons. You got you don't have webs as well. I feel like all the good teams don't have webs. What the hell? You don't have webs. Hazard removal's fine. Swallow's not gonna be running hazard removal, but that's fine. And the biggest thing here is Pangoro. Pangoro in itself doesn't have a switch in, so pair up Pangoro with a team that just has so much pivot around it. Like Swellow can pivot into it, Vaporeon can pivot into it, I guess Raichu can pivot into it as well. A lot of these mons can pivot, go into Pangoro, and then just slap another team around, because there's not many, like I said, switches into it. And I do want to mention, actually, before I keep going, so Houston Tauros, I just remembered, 4-point Weber, the only one that I was thinking of was Kricketune. So Kricketune, it's not bad. It helps you against, I guess, ground types, and it has webs. But anyways, back to the program. So, Altaria, I think Altaria is really nice. I think it was probably one of the better lower tier and the low tier dragon types, because of it did get some new moves, that being like Fire Spin. Fire Spin means that you could Fire Spin Perish Song at bulky Pokemon such as like Registeel and kill them that way. I think it's gonna be a really fun thing to do. But now that I mention it, they'll probably know what you're gonna be up against. But that's fine. I think they're in the other division anyways. But yeah, other than that, do you have anything else to add?
No. I think you summed it up pretty well. They've just got a really nice combination of mons that I feel like are probably the most solid in terms of what they can bring to the table.
All right. Well, I guess that is it for today, guys. So these were the post. What are you saying? The post power rankings. So for next time, at least for the actual week 1 and so on and so forth, they're not going to be in video form, mainly because it would take me long, and then I have like 18 videos to do, so I'm a little backed up. But we're going to be doing pick'ems, so starting week 2 we will be doing pick'ems, so that'll be pretty fun. If you guys are excited about that, don't forget to, leave a like and all that stuff. But, yeah, I guess we will see you all next time. Peace.